Hello, listeners. This is Greg Berger. I play the role of Craven the Hunter, who wants to mount Spider-Man on the wall as my trophy. And also the role of Quentin Beck, Mysterio, master of special effects and treachery. Oh, now I'm just Greg Berger again, reminding you that you are listening to Spider-Man, the Animated Series podcast. Enjoy.
Hello, webheads, and welcome to another edition of Spider-Man, the Animated Series podcast. I'm your host, Alex Robson, and joining me today is not only our regular co-host and comic book artist, Mr. Will Robson, but also another professional comic book artist that has drawn so much Spider-Man that your web shooters would explode from the sheer volume of work. Please welcome to the show, Mr. Nate Stockman. Say hello, Nate.
Hey, how's it going, boys? You well?
Good, and say hello, Will.
Hello, everybody.
Thanks for coming on the show, man.
Thanks for the wonderful intro.
I spent ages writing it. You have no idea.
I can tell.
How's it going in Ireland today? Actually it's quite sunny here, so I can't say is it as dull as it usually is.
Yeah, it's pretty nice here as well. Not that it makes much of a difference. I'm just like in prison here.
Yeah. So you were saying off pod, and I'm sure Will can empathise with you. You said that my life basically revolves around living in a room. Is that right?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Well, I recommend getting a tablet, and then you can move to the sofa.
I don't know about like digital. It's just I don't know if it's for me. Will Sliney, another Spider-Man artist, was trying to convince me to do it, and I don't know. Maybe someday, but I just like traditional stuff.
Yeah, it was very cool because I was reading up about you, because you can Google anyone and find out exactly their whole life's journey. And I did see that you are a traditional artist. So that's really cool, man, because as much as I know there's so many benefits to digital and there's so many benefits to traditional, and you can't really compare and contrast too much, but why did you, I'm kicking off with a question already, which is not what I planned, but why did you decide to draw traditionally?
Just because I'm inept at everything else.
So putting pen to paper was far easier than looking at a program and going, I need to figure out 30 steps even before I start drawing, right?
Yeah, right. You guys are stuck in the past. I'm living in the future with a French bulldog on my lap, sitting looking at a TV, using the tablet. I even ink in the bloody bath. It's amazing.
That's pretty hot.
Yeah,
like dangerous though. These electrical outputs.
That's my number one thing. It's like one ink in the bath, go digital.
Yeah, I can kind of understand that. I mean, I'm nowhere near an artist, but when I was growing up with my brother, I'd always liked to draw as well, and just being able to simplify. Okay, what I want to draw is going to go on this page, and I respect the digital realm because it is super complicated and totally.
It's not complicated.
Well, okay, listen. So my brother, it's complicated. My brother here, like when he goes on holiday, and I ask him what country is the place you're going to, he doesn't bloody know. Yet he can figure out 60 different ways to work his tablet in this program, and I don't understand. Or if he needs to use an iPhone, he's completely fucking inept. But he can show you how to like duplicate a whole cityscape with clicking 3 buttons.
That's cheating, if you ask me.
Nah, it's not cheating. There's no rule book.
Oh, I want a versus.
Squares, nah. Put the work in, man.
Oh, look at me! I'm drawing traditionally. Oh, isn't this great? Look, I'm going to spend 12 hours drawing a building.
Oh shit! How long does a page take you?
Pencils take 2-3 hours. Inks take about 6 to 8 hours.
That's about the same as me.
Yeah, I take ages on inks. I'm really slow with inks, but pencils I can bust out. But backgrounds, pusher.
One thing I hate about digital artists is when they'll put like pictures up on Twitter of them by pools and stuff with like margaritas and all. I'm like, oh, just chilling, drawing my page. It's like, oh, gee.
Do you hate them or is it jealousy?
Oh well, yeah, it's jealousy. It's pure jealousy. I'm here with my margarita in my prison.
Hey, at least they serve margaritas in prison.
Just clutching a bottle of whiskey.
I feel like suddenly we should change our category game to villain versus villain to traditional versus digital, and then you guys just fight it out.
I don't know enough about digital to really make a good argument.
Well, as long as you stick to your traditional, I think you'd be all right.
Just looks magical and mystical, and I don't know.
It is. It's crack. It's cocaine.
Either way, you both have drawn Spider-Man, especially you, Nate, I know, and for all our listeners. Nate is a very seasoned Spider-Man artist from Marvel, aren't you?
I think you're being way too kind there. I've drawn like a few bits and bobs, but I don't know if I'm quite seasoned yet.
Well, how many issues of Spidey did you do?
5 of Spidey.
And how about Spider-Man Renew Your Vows?
Finished the 5 of that as well, and then
10. That's loads.
Yeah, seasoned, as I said.
We made a whole bloody podcast about Spider-Man. We're doing a 3-part interview with me, and I drew Spider-Man for 40 fucking pages.
What did you draw, man?
Spider-Man and Deadpool.
Oh, of course, yeah.
What, you don't know? You don't follow my art? What the fuck?
Who are you again?
So, as last we updated, Will is currently working with Todd McFarlane on Spawn Kills Everyone. And he's
I know that.
And he's also doing a 4-page short for Marvel. And
that's done now.
Oh, that is done. Can you talk about that yet?
I'm just going to fucking talk about it because it's ridiculous, because the book's been announced. And all the artists have been announced except for me. Even the writer of my story has been announced, so I think it's all right. I'm working on Thanos, or I did work on Thanos Annual. It's out sometime this year. I don't bloody know. But yeah,
who's writing it?
Ryan North.
Oh, nice! I worked with him on a story before. It was fun.
Oh yeah. Well, I will say now that Ryan's story is the best comic book story I've ever drawn.
Oh really?
Yep. And I really want to work with him again. I'd love to work on Squirrel Girl. That'd be amazing.
Oh yeah, Erica Henderson's leaving, isn't she? So there's an opening.
Is she?
Yeah.
Right, I gotta send some emails.
I'm gonna go get some coffee. I'll be right back, guys. If you want to just chat about potential work opportunities coming up,
I will. I'm gonna email the Avengers office and be like, "Hey guys, remember me? Please do."
So, what are you working on currently, Nate?
It hasn't been announced yet, so I can't say.
Okay.
I can tell you if you cut it out.
No. Don't worry about it, mate. We'll surely discuss it off pod.
It's so annoying. Like, it's going to be announced in like a week or something, and it's not even a big thing. It's just like what I'm working on. Well, it's big for me. I think it's cool.
Well, that's cool. I mean, when you announce it, then we can share it as well and share it to all our listeners. So that would be fine. What is the last thing you worked on then that you can talk about?
Renew Your Vows. I did 3 issues of that. Issues. Oh, what was it? I think it was 15, 16, and 17, something around that. Anyway, with Jodie Hauser writing, so that was really fun. She took over from Ryan and Jerry a couple of arcs back.
You worked for Ryan Stegman, the writer.
Yes.
What was that like?
Oh, it was everything you could hope and more.
What? In what way?
No, it was fine. Because Ryan is a really good artist, as he'll tell you himself, and so working for him as a writer was really daunting. Just being like, you could draw this 1,000,000 times better than I can, sort of thing.
And but he used to be like, I know.
Yeah, he was grand. He was nice about it. He was just like, oh, it looks really good, and compliment me and stuff. So that's fine. I like compliments.
Well, you're not going to get any here.
Oh, this is the English-Irish divide coming out now, is it?
Well, I wasn't going to bring it up.
Rivalry.
I tell you what, we can all talk about mutually that we love is Spider-Man the Animated Series, which is obviously why we're here and why we do the podcast. So, Nate, why don't you tell us, because you said you obviously watched the show growing up. Was there anything that when you saw it, you got inspired at a young age, or was it just your first introduction to Spider-Man? Was there any favourite bits that stick out in your mind? Let's just generally chat about the show before we dive into questions, if that's all right.
I actually can't remember if I watched the show before I read the comics. Spider-Man just was always around, if you know what I mean. It's everywhere.
Yeah.
It's toys. He was on the telly. He was in the shops. So I don't know. But the first thing I can really remember loving on the show was Venom. Loved Venom on the show. Loved the way they lit him red from one side and blue from the other.
Yeah.
And did you see when Trad Moore was drawing him a while back they coloured him like that, and I was just like, oh yes.
No, I love Trad Moore's Venom. I just love Trad Moore.
Yeah. Oh, I met him in New York last year, and I was just like a little teenager around him, was a little giggly and like, hi.
Like waving a hanky at him like, cooey.
Yeah. I had to pull out my fainting couch, just be like, oh.
That's cool. Yeah, no, Venom is definitely one of our favourites as well. Voiced by Hank Azaria, who's seasoned voice actor with The Simpsons. And
oh yeah, really? Did he do the voice? That's cool.
He did, yeah. And his Eddie Brock, we always like to make fun of because his Brooklyn accent, and he's always got the shit end of the stick. Poor Eddie. He's always ending up on the wrong side of things. And he's just got the worst luck when it comes to Spider-Man. But then, his change into Venom and the voice change with Hank Azaria doing that, gargling, throaty noise that he made.
Do you think he made the monster noises, though? Like the...
Well, yeah, we could kind of do it ourselves. He did, but what they did is they did a slight overlay and echo with his voice effect to give it that, added noise. But, yeah, he essentially made that.
I haven't watched it in a while. Didn't it sound like he was two people talking, kind of?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was Eddie and Venom at the same time.
The same bitch, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and we are Venom. And that was the first time anybody ever saw Venom in any sort of live show or, well, I know it's a cartoon, so I don't want to say live action, but any sort of incarnation on television. That was the first time anyone ever saw Venom.
Mm. And the last?
Well, yeah, we don't want to count Spider-Man 3, so yeah, let's just forget about that.
That film. It doesn't exist.
Yeah, exactly. And then also the Tom Hardy one. I like to think that doesn't exist already because that trailer was fucking awful.
Well, it's not a Venom film, is it?
No, it's not. Someone said the other day on Twitter that if you just take the title out of it, you could show someone that movie, and there's no way that they would think that's a Venom movie or even a comic book movie. It looks like some sort of asylum movie where some guy escapes and goes on a killing rampage.
I'm sure it'll be fine. I like Tom Hardy.
Yeah, I like Tom Hardy too. I think that I'm getting a little too Tom Hardy'd out with all these characters he's playing. I know that sounds ridiculous, but it's kind of like Johnny Depp. After a while, I was like, all right, I'm fucking sick of Johnny Depp. I'm tired of seeing him.
Johnny Depp is Venom.
Yeah.
Tim Burton's Venom.
Oh, God.
I might be down for that.
Oh, man. So Johnny Depp would be Venom in Tim Burton's film. I like that. That could work. And then he would have Helena Bonham Carter be the symbiote.
Just wrapping around him.
Yeah. Oh, and he would be all metaphorical about the symbiote and how it represents his fucking emo childhood. I can see it now.
I feel I've already seen it now. You painted such a vivid picture.
Yeah, no point of buying an admission for that one. Let's just skip it.
Eddie Brock dressed as Jack Skellington. It'd be brilliant.
Oh my god, that would be good. I'm not.
It could be a musical as well. Just symbiote. Just symbiote.
So what we do on this show, Nate, is we ask all our guests 5 questions revolving around Spider-Man.
First question is, what are your bank details?
Oh yeah, no bother. You a Nigerian prince?
Actually, I got a funny story about that. When I was 19, I got the email, and I didn't know it was a fake thing, and I was convinced about it. I even called my dad, being like, "I got this email through from this Nigerian prince that wants to give me loads of money. I think this is it." I did.
Oh.
What TV show did they do that on? Was it Flight of the Conchords or something where it turned out to be legit and you just got a pile of cash?
Oh, really?
At the end of it? Yeah.
I think you're right. I think it was Flight of the Conchords. That was a great episode. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was. So no Nigerian prince, but Spider-Man questions about the show.
We're getting off track a bit here.
Yeah. It's all right. We do that. We do that all the time.
Veering off to the side.
Oh, we do that all the time. We were talking about how much his dog was a cunt the other day, so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, well, we can talk about that every day because there's always news about that.
You sound like a real animal lover there.
I
am. So question 1 is, who is your favourite Spider-Man villain and why?
Love Venom. It's a toss-up between Venom and Green Goblin. Venom looks cool, but I think Green Goblin for just the everything. He's got cool visual. He's got a really cool backstory and history with Peter that I like the legacy of Harry and Normie and everything. So probably Green Goblin edges out Venom. And also I've drawn Green Goblin. I've never drawn Venom, so
you've drawn Harry. I think I've seen your Harry Osborn before.
I've drawn all three of them, I think.
Yeah, I think it was in Spidey as well. I loved it. I loved the way you did his hair as well.
Oh, thank you. Well, it's just the standard Osborne hair. It's just the cornrows.
Yeah, which I still don't understand. Like, is it cornrows? Because I've done it before, and I've just made it like I always thought it may have been lighting. I didn't know if it was actually cornrows.
They look like them.
All right, anyone listening? Is it cornrows or is it just some sort of weird wavy hair that they have? Because it always looked like a rippling ocean to me, their hair, in a way.
Oh, it's cool. It's really like, as soon as you see any of them, you know it's an Osborne. Well, and Sandman has the same hair, actually.
Well, there's a potential story where he is an actual Osborne. And everyone's like, how did we not know? Look at his hair.
I think they might have done that, actually.
Oh, really?
Really?
Yeah, I think so. Okay. I don't know. There's a lot of like weird stories that get like put out and then get retconned. So I don't know. Maybe, who knows?
Okay, so good answer. Green Goblin is one of my favourites as well. I just like the sheer menace of Norman Osborn and how he's just a psychological villain as well as a physical threat.
Can you do a voice impression of the Green Goblin?
No, I can't.
No. Well, get off the show.
Okay, so yeah, thanks for having me.
Well, Will can, and you better lower your volume when he does. I mean, isn't it just like we're talking to Gary Imhoff, the guy who did the voice?
Yeah, hi Gary. How are you? What was it like working on Spider-Man?
It was fucking amazing.
He really stays in character, really.
This is Nate, I just have to let you know, this is the show where we literally do voice. We make fun of Kingpin and Smythe. We think they secretly have a love relationship that we never get to see. I don't know if you remember in the show, but Kingpin used to use Smythe like his little bitch, basically.
Which was Smythe? Alistair Smythe, was it the one that got turned into that mad weird thing?
Yeah, like the Terminator, basically.
I should have watched some of this show.
It's all right. I mean, the whole point of the podcast is I've had a lot of people message me and they're going, hearing you talking about it has made me go back and start watching episodes because there's so many things that we kind of bring into light and make people remember, and then they go, oh yeah, I remember that, and then they go back and watch it. So
it's not like I've got anything better to do. I could just stick it on in the background. And
are you allowed to watch television in prison?
Yeah, I mean, just tattoo myself and watch Spider-Man. Work out. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not working out here.
I was going to say it's like Cape Fear all of a sudden with De Niro. You're just like tattooing yourself.
Webs on my elbow, and
my fiance has webs on her elbow. I make fun of her for all the time.
Did you make her get them?
No. This is before I knew her. But she, I was like, so how was prison? She's like, what? I'm like, oh God, you killed a lot of people. Look at all those webs.
Is that what it means?
Yeah.
Really?
I'm pretty sure it either means this is how many people I've killed or this is how many years I've served.
But that's a big difference.
The teardrops are how many people you killed, isn't it? I don't know.
Listen to us three privileged white guys try and talk about what prison tattoos are.
I'm not white. Just kidding. I'm pure. I'm Snow White.
Sorry,
I'm Irish.
I just assumed by the name Nate Stockman that you were probably white.
Yeah.
And by the pictures you post on Facebook being white.
Oh, yeah, I forgot.
Remember Google, Nate. I can find out everything.
My secret's out. I'm a white man.
All right, fucking hell. Let's get back to question 2. Who is your favourite Spider-Man ally and why?
I don't know, really. I guess since I worked on Renew Your Vows, I'll say MJ.
Yeah, I mean, she's mine. I think she's great. Yeah, I think she's awesome.
Yeah, I like MJ. I liked Aunt May back in the day as well.
Yeah, I mean, on the show, they were both so good, and especially when MJ found out Peter and Spider-Man were the same person, I loved how she used to cover for him and kind of became even better as an ally at that point. Yeah, I think she's great. All right, cool. What is your sort of, I know you haven't watched the show in a while, so instead of asking favourite episode, I'll just ask, when you think of the show, is there a scene or is there an episode or even a season that pops out in your mind where you go, yeah, that's what I remember the most about that show?
Well, I always remember they couldn't have Morbius sucking blood, so they have him sucking plasma, didn't they? And did he have suction cups in his hand?
He did, yeah.
Yeah.
The show itself, because obviously doing this podcast, I found out a lot about the show and all the do's and don'ts behind the scenes, and their list of censorship that they had to follow is insane.
Give us a few examples there.
All right, so let's go through the censorships. We've got no punching.
What?
Yeah, not a single punch is thrown in the show.
Oh, didn't they do that in Homecoming? Doesn't he not throw a punch in that film?
I don't know.
I don't know either. That's a good point. I don't remember seeing Spider-Man punching anyone in that movie directly, but
I think I read something about that. Anyway, sorry, I'm sidetracking you again.
No, it's all right. So no punching whatsoever. I think there's 2 episodes that have Spider-Man actually punching a villain, and that's it. And then there's no use of the words kill, death, or die. So when someone dies, we always joke around, they say the disappearance of. So when Alistair Smythe loses his dad, Kingpin goes, I'm going to help you get revenge on Spider-Man for the disappearance of your father. Which is insane. And there's no shooting bullets. So it was all laser guns on the show.
Guns.
Oh, yeah. I remember that now.
No blood or use of the word blood. So there's the plasma coming into play and not being able to see it and having these suction cups for hands. That is like the worst vampire ever, isn't it? Imagine that vampire in a group of vampires where they're all sucking people's blood. And he's like, I kind of just put my hands on people's faces and it does the rest.
Makes Blade's job a hell of a lot easier anyway.
Yeah, he was on the show.
Shitty vampires running around.
Yeah, and they all had vampire teeth because there was a whole vampire saga with Blade in the show and Blade's mother, and they all have vampire teeth, yet they don't use them. It's really weird.
Well, it's more sanitary, I guess. If I was a vampire, I wouldn't want to. I'd rather use my hand, I think.
What, then, use fucking, antibacterial afterwards to clean it?
Yeah, exactly. I go to enough Comic-Cons to know, you don't want to do something with your mouth anyway.
Yeah. And then there's no breaking glass. So it was a lot of concrete and, wood structures being blown to hell, but no glass is allowed to break, which is a really weird thing. Loads of rubble that is way more dangerous, because we've seen people crushed by rubble in the show, but breaking glass apparently is too dangerous. No use of the words radioactive or other variations.
What? Even though the theme song's just radioactive, blood, radioactive.
Yeah. No children in peril, no foul language, and my favourite, no harming pigeons.
Oh, well, I mean, obviously.
Yeah, because there's so many pigeons that get harmed on a daily basis in cartoons that someone needs to take a stand.
Well, I mean, Spider-Man's more likely than not to be, milling pigeons out of it if he's swinging around, so...
Yeah, that's very true.
Did they ever show Uncle Ben dying? Because that ticks a lot of boxes.
They do and they don't.
He pulls off a building and he goes through a pigeon stack and explodes glass, and then he punches a pigeon in the mouth.
And then
he says, "I'm dying by radioactivity, Peter.
My blood is everywhere." Yeah, no, they show it in flashbacks, but they do the whole robber passing Spider-Man after he's been in a wrestling match, and then later on he goes home and Aunt May's crying and the police are there and he finds out Uncle Ben. I don't know. See, I haven't watched the episode. I haven't watched that episode and paid attention to if he actually says murder or anything like that. That'd be good. I mean, we'll obviously get to it when we come to review it, Will. But yeah, that would be really cool to see if he actually does break censorship, because he's like, my uncle fucking died, all right? So I get to say that. It just leads me into my next question in general, which is a question we ask Nate to everybody who comes on. Why do you think people love Spider-Man so much? What is it about that character that people just love so much?
A lot of people's lives are just empty voids, need filling. Spider-Man is around.
That's the best answer we've ever got.
Yeah, can you stop there? I just love that. That is pure gold. Holy shit, that was amazing.
That's why I love him anyway. This is just speaking from personal experience. That's all I have.
Do you talk to him as you draw him alone in your room?
Well, yeah, I mean, like, I'm not crazy. He talks back. Like,
oh, that's amazing.
my emotional support spider.
Yeah. I love that. That was great. And I suppose to end all the questions in this 5-question list is if you could have one of Spider-Man's abilities, being web slinging, wall crawling, super strength, super agility and balance, and spider sense, which one would it be and why?
I would like his handsomeness. He's good looking.
He wears a bloody mask all the time.
Like if he wasn't Spider-Man, you'd have a great life.
Which incarnation of Peter Parker are you talking about? Are you talking about like the because I always thought the animated series version was quite like a sort of young Bruce Wayne looking guy.
No, he's got the chiseled jaw, the great hair.
Yeah.
Wears sweaters well. I don't know if any of his powers would really benefit me. I mean, super strength, I'd probably break pencils really easily. I mean, I guess I could draw upside down, but then I'd probably get dizzy. I'd like his brain, maybe invent some cool stuff.
That's actually a good one to have on there with his spider.
Not a superpower though.
No, I suppose it's not. Yeah, that's true.
Finally understand digital.
Yeah.
You can make your own tablet.
Yeah, there you go.
I made a tablet that draws the pages for me.
Oh, now you're talking.
I can finally leave the room.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll get into the bulk of the interview where it's just questions about you, so it's way easier to answer. And question one. Well, I would hope so, at least, yeah. Question one is, when did you decide you wanted to become a comic book artist?
Like I remember copying pictures when I was younger out of comics and like making up my own ones and stuff. But I didn't know if I knew it was a job, if you know what I mean. Like I didn't know people actually did it until probably I was about my early teens. I think they used to have a cartoon festival near where I grew up that would have a load of like newspaper cartoonists mostly, but there was a few comic artists there, and they'd have big exhibitions and stuff. And I saw like original art for the first time, and so that kind of clicked then that it was a real job that people did, and maybe I could do it. So like I always had it in the back of my mind then from like kind of teenage years, and then I did animation in college. I wanted to be an animator, and that didn't pan out. And so
what type of animation?
Like 2D stuff. I was never like good at the 3D stuff like Flash or Max or whatever. This is a long time ago now, so I'd say they use those.
I used to me and my brother once made a 2D cartoon when we were teenagers, which was all about a character called Stoner Bob, and he would just get high and then his bong would start talking to him. But besides that, because I used to want to be
doesn't it sound like a hit show? I mean, immediately you want to watch it.
It doesn't sound a million miles away from a lot of other animation in the 90s.
Yeah. And then I used to do a lot of stop motion animation. That's what I really wanted to do for a long time.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I was really into clay animation and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah. I did all sorts in college. Yeah, clay, and that's so time-consuming, though.
Yeah, well, I was that fat kid in high school that instead of chasing girls, he was chasing down the new batches of blue clay to build his little figures and make movies with.
It's like I'm talking to the English me here.
So when did you realise you were a fat loser, Nate?
I pass a reflective surface.
So are there any particular influences that inspired you to become a comic book artist, whether they're artists themselves or friends or family? Is there anything that anybody, I should say, that springs to mind that makes you become inspired to be an artist?
The exhibition I was talking about before, do you know the artist John McCrae?
Yep.
He was like the big comic book guy there. He had just started doing Hitman, And so I was just like all over him like a rash. I was just like a little nerd, like, oh, tell me all about comics, blah 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 blah. And like I just fell in love with his art. Like, and even today, he's just absolutely incredible. So he was always a big influence, and he was very nice and supportive, and just like, oh, you can do it, kind of.
That sounds really supportive. Yeah, you can do it. I guess, maybe. I don't know.
I suppose when he got his 6th call in a row at 3 a.m. from Nate, he's like, oh, fuck, you can do it. Come on.
Like, he's got this little fat kid hovering around his table. He's not going to be, like, super enthusiastic. He's just going to be like, just go off and draw comics. Just leave me alone.
And how long were you an independent artist before you broke in?
Like my first published, I guess, work was let me see on the shelf here. I don't know. It was like a digital series through a company called Monkey Brain, or a publisher called Monkey Brain. It was like a Comixology exclusive thing that later got a trade release, but it was written by Jay Farber. Do you know him? He does like Dynamo 5, Noble Causes, goes Copperhead and Elsewhere most recently. Like, does loads of stuff for Image anyway, and I was a big fan of his. And so like when he got in contact about doing the series, I was just like, oh, that was class. And it was just like a little kind of cool superhero gritty crime drama thing, but it taught me how to kind of stick to deadlines and stuff. It was just like a little 10-issue thing, got released every...
Was this your first comic, though, that you did?
I'd done like bits and pieces and pitches and like a few pages here and there, but that was the first kind of ongoing thing that I had published. So going back a little bit, you were doing animation at school. So yeah. What was the switch where you were like, oh no, I'm going to actually pursue comics? And like, what was like your rocky training moment of getting better and stuff like that? I just, like, I was so lazy in college and I didn't do anything, and I barely had a show reel coming out of it, and I just kind of bummed around for a while, and then it's like, oh, I have to do something. Like, I can't just like do nothing in my life at all. So I decided just to, I like comics, so I'm like, try and do this. And so I remember making up a little story, like 3 pages of a Spider-Man fighting Green Goblin.
So the first comic you drew was Spider-Man then? Yeah.
And like, I mean, I was in my 20s at this stage, and I remember like bringing it up to like my friend's house, and I was just like, oh, what do you think of this? Like, and he's like, oh, cool, man. And I was like, I think I might want to be a comic artist. And then I just kind of draw every day for like a million years until you don't suck.
Yeah, well, that sounds about right.
And so, like, after a while, like, I did like kind of little bits and pieces. I did that series, Anti-Hero, it was called, the like crime thing, crime superhero thing. It's actually a great little story. It's about a superhero gets his identity found out by like a low-level mobster, and he blackmails him into working for him. Like, I still think the story's great. The art's terrible because it was me like early on. But it was a good story. And then I did, I think there was like 1 or 2 things in between. And then I did an Image series. I've been really like lucky the way my career has gone. I mean, I'm not good at self-promotion. Like, I can't like do that. Like loads of the Irish lads are amazing at it. Like Deck Shelby and Will Sliney and all them boys are just like blah, 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 blah on the radio and the telly. And like,
we're having Declan come on soon.
Oh yeah. Oh, he'll talk.
Oh really? Okay, good.
I did an Image series then called Rain. It was a sci-fi fantasy up. That was a lot of fun to work on, and it was when I was doing that Marvel got in contact with me and had me kind of send them stuff for.
So they got in contact with you. Yeah,
it was. It was on Twitter. There's I did a Spider-Man commission, and Nick Lowe DM'd me and said, that's a nice looking Spider-Man. Do you have any sequential work? And I was doing the Image series at the time, so I sent him a bit of that, and then he's like, oh yeah, cool. like just send me stuff every couple of months.
Hang on, Nate. If you just listen, you can hear Will's teeth gritting as you're telling the story.
No. I want to know the story.
What's?
Well, his journey to break into Marvel was, going years and years to the same convention and not just Marvel. It was all of the comic book publishers, and he finally did. But to be approached by Marvel, I mean, that's really impressive, man. Did you? So you had already had Image work under your belt by that time.
I was doing an Image book at the time.
Okay, how did you break into Image? Because I'm just interested. What was your first major publication, comic book publisher that you worked for? Was it Image?
Yeah, it was Image. Yeah.
Okay. How did you manage to get into Image?
It was the colorist on the book I was doing called Anti-Hero was a guy called Paul Little, and he was coloring another Image series called I Love Trouble, and the artist, I think, couldn't finish the last issue and they needed it finished for the trade. So he asked me, was I available to do it? So I did that, and then the writer of that series, we just kind of got on from doing that, and then we pitched something else to Image, and it got picked up, and so we did 10 issues of Rain after that.
So that must have been pretty exciting. I mean, going into Image and...
Oh yeah, I was always a big Image fan growing up, and I was very non-involved in the pitching process as well. I mean, I did the concept art and pin-ups and sequential samples and stuff, but when it came to the actual pitching of it, if you know what I mean, putting the document and blah 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 and going back and forth with Eric Stevenson or whoever, I was just not involved. I was just I got an email they're going for it. I'm like, yes, nice one, I have a job.
Well, it sounds like a lot of nice stuff's falling into your lap, which is great.
It really has. Waiting for the bubble to burst, really.
So going back to what you were saying before, because that is really cool about breaking into Image and then Marvel approaching you. So they approached you and they'd seen your Spider-Man, and then what did they say to you after that?
Oh, it was just a one-off pin-up, and it was they just, I think, wanted to keep an eye on me, see what I was doing, and this was from that email or whatever to getting work for Marvel was about 2 years.
Oh wow! So how often did you send them updates of stuff?
About every 3 months, maybe.
Yeah, that's the sweet spot.
Yeah, I didn't want to spam them, and I was doing regular work, so I had new stuff to show them all the time, and because I was on a regular book, you can see little improvements over the course of a couple of months. So hopefully they saw stuff getting better, and then after a while he passed me on to Ricky Pardon.
Yeah, good old Ricky.
Oh, Ricky is fantastic. He's from day one, he's just absolutely amazing. And he I did a couple of sample scripts for him, and same deal, sent him.
Which sample script did you get? Because I know there's usually there's 3. There's one's a Spider-Gwen, one's the Avengers fighting Doctor Doom, and there's one more. Which one did you get?
Oh, it was neither of them. It was Spider-Man and Spider-Man 2099.
You don't even get the regular scripts to work on?
The one fighting the Spot?
No, I haven't heard anybody working on that one.
Really? I've seen that one going around loads.
Have you? Oh, I guess maybe that's one I've missed.
Oh, okay, so that's normal Spider-Man 2099 fighting one of the worst Spider-Man villains ever, the Spot.
Oh, he's great. He looks cool.
Do you like the Spot?
Yeah.
Because he was in the animated series as well, and there's a 2-parter episode. He's the one that introduces the time warping device that's the portal device, because he's the one who originally introduces him. I always am reminded of the Yellow Submarine movie, the Beatles film, with that character, because there's a whole scene where they drop through holes in a big white space, and that always reminds me of the character.
Yeah, that's a good pull.
Maybe that's where they got the idea from.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry, that's my contribution to talking about the comps that Marvel sent you.
So I'm guessing they probably, because usually with Marvel they make you draw something either if they want to see how you draw that character, aka for you Spider-Man, or they give you something that they don't think, or they haven't seen you show. So if you don't, for me, I didn't have too many women in my portfolio, so they made me draw Spider-Gwen to see how I would handle drawing a female character.
Is that just because you hate women?
No, he hates it. He hates his female dog. I think that's about it.
I don't hate her. She's just be the worst sometimes.
Okay, so you drew that for them, and then you sent it to them. And how long was it until they got back, and what did they say?
No, Ricky was pretty good. I mean, and I know how busy he is, so I didn't be like blah blah blah, like give me answers. Like so, like he got back to me within a couple of days or a week or whatever, and with feedback, and I was receptive to the feedback, I think, and like I wasn't.
So what was the feedback? Was it?
I wasn't like a prissy prima donna about stuff. Like it was all like in like to help me get better. So I mean, I appreciated it all.
Yeah,
it was just stuff like give your layouts room to breathe. Just vary up panel sizes, zoom in here, zoom out here. That sort of like kind of just the normal stuff, I guess.
Yeah,
like work on anatomy, like all the basics.
Okay, so once you were given that feedback, did you go back and sort of send updates and he had a look? I'm just curious about when you broke into Marvel, sort of what year was it and what was the experience like when they finally were like, okay, we're going to give you this chance and we're going to give you this property?
Let me think. I hadn't emailed Ricky in a while, and I had done a load of new commissions, and I think maybe sequentials. No, I didn't. It was all just pin-ups and stuff. And so I just you hear this is what I've been up to. If you have any new scripts or whatever, send them my way. And he emailed me back like straight away, and he's just like, "I think we might have something for you." And I'm just like, "What?" Because like I was sending them like stuff for months, but like you take it with a pinch of salt. I mean, you don't know if you're going to get in. Like it's all if you're the right fit for a book or whatever.
Yep. Well, I mean, I broke in because the artist was leaving on Star-Lord, and I was just right place, right time, so I could hop in.
I think I was the same. And so it was Darren Shan, the editor on Spidey, emailed me like a couple of minutes later, and I was just like, holy shit.
Oh, my God.
He offered me 2 issues of Spidey. I was just like I couldn't stop shaking. I was just like, oh, it was like the best experience of my life. And,
now, were you after how long was Nick Bradshaw on there for?
3 or 4 issues.
Because I was collecting it then, and
what you stopped when Nate joined?
No, I wonder. This is funny because the moment Nick left and there was a new artist in the book, I was like, oh, I'm done. And I just want to know if that was you.
No, it wasn't. It was Andre Arujo. I can't pronounce anything that isn't.
Oh, I know that name. Yeah. I'll butcher it as well.
He does. He did Spidey. He does loads of Marvel. I think he does some Venom stuff, and he does like a couple of Image series. He's absolutely incredible. And so, like following him and Nick was just like, ugh. But I mean,
everyone's watching.
My excitement level was just off the chain. So I think that's what carried me through. I got the first issue done in like 3 weeks, which is the quickest I've ever done a comic.
Wow, that's
that's great because that just showed Marvel like, oh shit, let's get this guy more work. Look how cool.
Yeah, but did you pigeonhole yourself with that? Where they're like, it's been 4 weeks, Nate. Where's our fucking book?
Yeah, I'm fast enough, but like, I mean, not that fast.
Yeah,
because Darren is just like. Geez, you got that like done really fast. I'm like, was I too fast? Like, I can go back and like
too fast.
I can go back and flash things. And he's like, no.
It's like awkward sex or something. Like, was that too much? Was that too fast? Sorry, I can go slower.
Yeah. My first Spider-Man issue was exactly like awkward sex.
You got really excited, you were really nervous, people before you had done way better, and then you just went in, you were way too fast. Yeah, that sounds about right.
And I never got asked back.
Well, at least, yeah, exactly. At least they called you back.
So you got to do 2 issues for your first. So you weren't like you were a filler-in artist, but you were the main artist for the book.
Well, after I handed the first issue in, I was offered to finish out the series.
That's awesome.
So I was very excited, and I got to work.
That means that if you did a bad job, they would have been like, "Okay, thank you."
Yeah,
you know.
Well, I mean, I still would have had 2 issues of Spider-Man under my belt. Like, they could never take that away from me.
Yeah,
that's true. Yeah, you would have hoarded those out to every other publisher, wouldn't you? And be like, I worked on Spider-Man. Yeah,
on my grave.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
So this was in April of 2016 then?
Yeah, same time as yourself breaking in.
That's interesting.
Yeah, but you're like 12 or something though, aren't you?
I'm not 12.
Your voice just cracked there.
I'm going to be 28 in a month or 2. How old are you?
I'm 34.
Oh, yeah. Well, you're just an old man.
Yeah, well, that's true.
Well, I'm just behind you on that one, Nate, so don't worry. Not too far.
How old are you?
I'm 31.
Oh, yeah, there.
No, I'm in the 30s.
A few years ago.
Yeah, I read today an article, on a side note, this has nothing to do with Spider-Man, but it said an article where 31 is the age where you spend the most money in one single year in your life. So I was lying in bed like, fuck! So I clicked on it, and it's because you make all those big life decisions where it's, okay, I'm buying a house, I'm getting a car, I'm probably going to have children, I've got to, basically play with big chunks of money because I'm spending big chunks of money. And I'm just kind of going through this list and I'm going, yep. And then there's a wedding as well. And I'm married, but my wife and I are going to have an actual ceremony this year. So I was like, yep, tick. House, yeah, okay, that's coming next, tick. And I was just going through and I was like, fuck me, this article is one of the true ones that I've just randomly clicked on from social media.
Now that you mention it, I bought a lot of action figures at age 31.
Oh, that was number 112 on the list. So there you go. So your first property working on Marvel is Spider-Man. That's pretty amazing, man. That's pretty cool. So,
no pun intended.
Yeah, exactly. No pun intended. So after those 2 books, what happened next with Marvel?
Well, I finished out the Spidey series, so I did 5 issues of that.
Oh, wow.
And what did I do after that? I did a fill-in on Doctor Strange and the Sorcerer Supreme after that, because the writer I was working with on Spidey, Robbie Thompson, was writing that as well. And it was the same editor, so he knew that we could work together and that we'd hopefully do good stuff together. So he put me on that. And then I ended up doing 2 fill-in, I did 1 fill-in issue of that, and then I come back on for issue 10 and finished out that series. And I was doing bits of Renew Your Vows in between as well, so I was kind of bouncing around doing all sorts. I did a 10-page Miles Morales story as well.
Right, you've done loads of different Spider-Man stuff. And I said you were seasoned at the beginning and you argued with me. You are, man. You've done a lot.
Well, 11 and a half issues, I guess, is...
That's pretty
it's
cool
like,
stuff.
My number 1 goal is to live in the Spider-Man office, and this is all making me very jealous.
Yeah, Will's going to go have his own montage moment after this where he's just going to pump out Spider-Man pages. He's going to start drawing traditionally as well. He's going to move to Ireland.
Those nightmare to do traditionally.
Oh, I literally have a web brush, so I'm good.
Do you actually?
Yeah, I made it myself.
Oh, you make me sick.
Oh, woe is me. I'm not working on Spider-Man. I'll just keep inking this Todd McFarlane Spawn page I'm doing. Oh, God. My life is such a shame.
Yeah, my heart bleeds for you.
So Will works while we chat on this show. Are you working right now as well, Nate?
No, you have my undivided attention.
Ah, see? There we go. I like
Well,
this.
I'm sorry that I'm actually at my job currently.
So is Nate.
I'm waiting on email, so...
Oh, are you? Okay, gotcha.
Sent up layouts just before I got on it here.
Well, since I still have your attention then, are there any tips or advice you could give to any aspiring comic book artists out there that are listening right now? Because we like to do a little segment when we interview everybody, whether they're voice actors or artists or writers or any of the guests we have on the show. Just anybody that's aspiring to go into that field, is there any sort of advice that you could give to them that they could take and use to get where they want to be?
Yeah, you can start having your mental breakdowns really early. So, but you work up an immunity to them.
That's actually very good advice.
By your 4th or 5th one, it's just kind of par for the course. I don't know. Like practice, it sounds so stupid. It's like the only good advice to improve. Practice. Don't be a dick to people. Because like it's such a small industry, and like just don't be a dick in general. But I mean, if you want to work in an industry, don't be like bad mouthing people.
I would say be open to criticism. Yes.
Oh, absolutely.
On your work. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and even if you think it's a lame answer with practice and just keep on being nice to people and absorbing all their comments and criticism, I think that the more you say it, the more it gets absorbed, because it may sound simple, but it is exactly what you need to do when you're going after something like this in such a small industry. I agree.
I remember listening to a John Romita Jr. interview when he was talking.
John Romita Jr. Sorry. I can't even. There's no. I have no idea.
Jr. impression, or are you just a big fan?
I'm a big fan, and anytime someone says John Romita Jr., I have to sing the Aristocats song, but with his name.
It's like his weird impulse. You know how people have to like open the door 3 times or something before they go to bed. Someone says John Romita Jr.
I'm basically Nicolas Cage from Matchstick Men when it comes to
I have to flick the light switch 14 times or my family will die. I totally get it.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so once you heard a interview with JR, so you can't see him again.
He was talking about being open to criticism, and he's a funny guy. Have you ever listened to him?
Oh yeah, I'm a big fan. Well, I met him 3 years ago. I'm a major fan of his artwork, and I just was like, what am I going to say? Like, I was like so nervous, and like I had like his Daredevil in my hand, and I was going to be like, oh man, this Daredevil's like my favorite thing ever. And I went up to him, I was like, hi, John Romita Jr., and he's like, hey. And I was like, do you enjoying London? He's like, yeah, it's great.
You like stuff?
Yeah, he like signed like my book, and I was like, I love you.
That was like me. I met Eric Larson. Sorry, we're getting way off point, but I met Eric Larson.
Go ahead.
In New York. I was like almost back to back with him, like in the Artist Alley, and it took me like 4 days to work up the courage to go over and talk to him. And he was like the most like nice, personable guy in the world. And I was just like ended up just chatting about what it's like to work for Marvel nowadays versus when he was like tips for drawing the webs and just like general chit chat. But like it was just.
Well, I see a lot of Eric Larson in your art style.
Oh really? Oh, thanks. I'm going to take that as an improvement. I try to trace him as much as I can.
Trace him?
Yeah, I'm joking.
Will was about to call Marvel there. He's like, do you know?
So this guy you keep giving Spider-Man work, he's a tracer, so you should give it to me instead.
I'm backtracking now. Yeah, totally joking. I'm sitting here with my light box and my omnibus.
Yeah, you're like, technically I'm not working because I'm just drawing over someone else's work.
People have done that, and they've been majorly called out for it.
Yeah, I remember seeing a few examples of that back in the day.
That's crazy. What's your favourite thing that you've drawn for Spider-Man for Marvel? Because I was looking at some of your Sinister Six stuff, man, and that was awesome. Like your splash pages for that was really cool to look at.
Getting to draw them I got to draw the entire Sinister Six on my first issue. That was like when I was reading the script and they all showed up at the end. I was like, oh yes. Yeah,
and you were also lucky because you, unlike all the other Spider-Man books, you got to draw classic Spidey stuff.
Mm-hmm. Oh, they were so open to just when Craven showed up. I was like, because they were working off Nick Bradshaw's redesigns, but he didn't have one for Craven. I was like, can I just put him in his little leopard tights? And they're just like, yeah, that's fine. That's grand. I'm like, yes. So I tried to give them their classic looks as much as I could. And
yeah, it does all look very classic Spider-Man.
Robbie was great as well. He was just like, if there's anyone you want to draw, just let me know. I'm like, there's a flashback coming up next issue where he has to fight a baddie. Who do you want to draw? I'm just like, Green Goblin. And then the first page of the next issue was a splash page of him fighting Green Goblin above New York. I'm just like, Robbie, I love you.
That's amazing.
Awesome. That's so cool.
I need to work with your editors. What the fuck?
This is not a show where you pinch other Marvel contacts.
Yeah, that's the whole reason why I invited all of these artists on the show. So I can
he's going to get me to talk myself into ruining my career here. Out myself as a tracer.
He's suddenly an evil kingpin genius and stealing contacts while interviewing people. Right now, he's hacked into your computer. You haven't seen it yet. Actually, that doesn't matter. You're all traditional.
Oh yeah. You can hack into my office here and clean it up a bit if you want.
So, Nate, where can our listeners find you on social media?
Just Twitter at Stockman Nate. That's all I do, just because I get too distracted otherwise.
No, it's you got, as Will always says, you've got a strong Twitter game.
Thanks.
Yeah, it's jokes. That thing you posted, when I posted the other day saying, like, I just finished a bunch of Big Trouble in Little China covers, 12 of them. Do I have the longest running covers? Does anybody know? And then you're like, oh, sorry, mate. I just did my long arm series, and it was 14 covers of a guy just giving me the finger over 14 covers. So that was brilliant. That really made me crack up.
That's an exciting series. That wasn't a joke.
Is this your next secret big project that you're working on?
How does it end, Nate? How does it all end?
Well, I don't know. You'd be telling, wouldn't you? You have to buy it and see.
And my final question for you is, what do you have coming up next? But you said at the beginning that you can't talk about that yet, correct?
Oh, I can't talk. I can finish my John Romita Jr. story that we never.
Oh yeah, no, please go ahead.
It was well, it's not even my story; it's his story. He was just saying about he used to go on forums and stuff back in the day and see what people were saying about his art. I think it was when he was doing Amazing with Straczynski. And someone, he said, kept posting about how he draws wrists and ankles too thin. And he's just like getting all thick. And then he's just like, he said he was just looking at his stuff and he's like, you know what, they're actually right. And he said he started thickening them up and he found that his characters looked better for it. And so he was just like, that's a good example of like listening to criticism, and loads of it was just like, I hate the way he draws noses and stuff, and like that's just like personal taste. But I mean, if you can like pick little bits of genuine criticism and apply it to your art, you can get better. I don't know. I forget what the original question was. I'm sorry I brought this back around.
It was the original question was. Hello, Nate. You there? The original question was the inspiration for anyone out there listening who's trying to aspire to be a comic book artist like yourself.
Oh, just don't bother. It's not worth it.
Do you secretly all say that because Will says that, so you don't have more competition? You don't have anybody else to compete with.
No, I wish it was that.
It's the same old trope. So practice, study, work hard, be nice,
wank,
and hopefully hopefully someone will then wank you off as well.
Yeah.
That is the dream, isn't it?
I think that's a great way to end that interview segment. So we'll move on now, and
happy ending.
We will, happy ending indeed, very good. And we will get into our little category games. Nate, as you said before we started recording, you're happy to play along, which is awesome because I think adding another person into the mix will be fun. So we'll start with villains versus villains.
Sacrifices must be made.
You're right on time for your funeral.
We call ourselves Venom.
Let's do this.
Now, the villains versus villains game. There is, for anybody listening that doesn't know about the game, and also just to explain to Nate real quick, there is a list of Spider-Man villains that I have in front of me. We've had a lot of them battle already, so obviously they're not all available. But the ones that are, I'm going to give... Will, I'll give you a set of numbers to pick from first, and then Nate, I'll give you a set of numbers to pick one from after that, and that will give us two characters, and we're going to discuss how they go head-to-head and who will win.
Okay.
So, Will... I'm going to give you a number between 10 and 14, but you can't say number 12.
Why can't I say 12?
Because it's already been taken, so 10 to
14.
Okay.
I thought you just were, like, protecting whatever character was on 12.
No.
11.
That would be the Kingpin.
Oh, hello, Smite. It's me, the Kingpin.
I'm going to win because I only have 3% body fat.
All in my jeans, mate.
All right, Nate. You've got 17 through 22.
Oh, go for 20 then.
The Spot.
I don't think you can make a spot big enough for the Kingpin.
What are the chances?
There you go. He's going to get trapped in one then. He'll just be waddling around like half in, half out.
Fine, I'm stuck in a spot.
Yeah. Smythe, please come help me. I don't know when my other half is. I'm now only 1.5% body fat.
Is your vote genuinely for the spot?
Mine isn't. I haven't voted yet. Is your vote for the Spot, Nate?
Oh, well, I picked him, so I thought that's what we had to argue our point. But yeah,
no. Just because you've got your pick doesn't mean you have to go with the one that you picked. Don't worry about it.
No,
This isn't debate club.
Yeah.
Spot will do it.
You still think the
Yeah,
Spot?
why?
Yeah, because he'll just be like hitting himself. He'll just like do a big spot hole or whatever, and like he'll end up punching himself in the head. Kingpin.
But I mean, if you think about Kingpin, especially in the animated series, which obviously where we're basing a lot of these characters in the list from, you've got Kingpin's got a whole arsenal of weaponry and goons at his disposal.
I think Kingpin would have already somehow done some back alley dealings to fuck this guy over before he even got to fight with him. He'd probably be like, he's like, right, I'm gonna put you in a spot. And
then the Spot just won't fight him then. I don't know.
And then he'd be like, I'm sorry, is your spot powers not working? And then he would go
I think he's too clever to just let the Spot...
He would go into a long monologue of like, I've known all about your powers and this battle coming up, and fuck you.
Yeah, he would.
Spot will just kill himself then. I don't know.
Well, I think that would be the thing. He would activate his Spot machine, or device, should I say, and end up being absorbed by his own Spot because Kingpin's way ahead of him. He's 5 steps ahead of him because that is the Kingpin in the show. He is always so ahead of the game where people think they've got him, and he's just like, I knew this was going to happen, and I planned for this, and this is what's going to happen now because I'm the fucking Kingpin, baby.
I love the comic storyline Back in Black where Spider-Man fights Kingpin.
Yeah.
Oh, in prison?
Yeah, love that.
The panel of that when he's punching them is so good.
That's so cool, isn't it? And Kingpin doesn't lay a finger on him. Oh, I love that.
All right, well, my vote is for Kingpin.
No, you're wrong. It's the Spot.
My vote's for Kingpin. I'm sorry.
You're both wrong.
You're outweighed here, so I'm ringing the bell. Kingpin wins. All right, so we do the same thing, but for Spider-Man's allies from the show, Nate.
Like a civil war.
So like a civil war, okay?
The name's Daredevil.
I punish those who prey on the innocent. Meet the new champion of the Allied Forces, Captain America.
What I smell is trouble. It's clobbering time!
So Nate can go first this time. Nate, pick a number between 11 and 17.
Go for 15 then, in honor of Amazing Fantasy.
Okay, that's a cool shout out. It is Agent X, who in the show is very much like Black Widow. She's basically the show's Black Widow, but she's called Agent X, who is, I think, is a Marvel character in the comics as well, isn't she?
Yeah, Agent X I thought was a guy.
Oh, you're right, because in
Wolverine. Wolverine film.
Yeah, but in the show, it's a woman and it's Agent X and she works for S.H.I.E.L.D.
Hang on, I'm going to look her up now. I want to see what I'm working with here.
Yeah, if you type in Agent X animated Spider-Man animated series, because then it will give you exactly...
Yeah. I'm getting the dude. He's got a big X on his head. Hang on.
All right, well, while Nate's looking up Agent X, you can pick numbers 4 through 9 except for number 6. You can't pick number 6.
Let's do 7.
That would be Iron Man. So while Nate's looking up Agent X
and fantastic battles we've chosen.
I got her. She's she's Black Widow.
Yeah.
So it's Black Widow versus Iron Man.
Essentially, yeah. Let's just still call it that.
In the in the animated universes.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much, because not that they're drastically different from their iterations in the comics, are they? I mean, Iron Man is still Tony Stark. He's got a suit of armor that fires repulsor rays out of his hands, and he can fly.
Okay, then. I will say the Agent X will win because she will seduce Tony, swap out his virgin margarita with a highly alcoholic version, and he'll get all woozy and crash his suit into a cavern.
Ooh, I like
a pretty good answer.
Yeah, that is a pretty good answer. Will, do you have any counter to that?
I was gonna say that she may have seduced him in some way. So yeah, I'm gonna go with her. Not saying that all women just like resort to seducing. I'm just saying a womanizer like Tony Stark.
Coming out again. Why do you hate women?
That's not true. I don't want this to become a thing.
No, I know it's not true. It's not true in the slightest. You're basically saying she's going to see Tony Stark's weaknesses because she's going to access the S.H.I.E.L.D. database, read up on him, know exactly how he operates, and then when it comes to it, she's going to use one of his weaknesses, which is obviously he can be seduced, and she's going to use that to her advantage.
It's like a job interview. What are your strengths and weaknesses? I can be easily seduced.
Yeah, that goes in the cons section. Well, I think that's true though, because and she's also in the show. She flies like this. It's kind of like it's like a hovercraft spaceship kind of thing. It's like a little helicarrier that she flies around. That's loaded with laser guns, so that can take on Iron Man. Along with she's got an arsenal of weaponry, and she's got S.H.I.E.L.D. behind her. I mean, she's not just one person going out. She can call on S.H.I.E.L.D. and they can come in by the dozens. So I think Iron Man would have a struggle. I mean, just for differences, I still want to think that Iron Man would win. But if you guys are both saying Agent X, then we'll go with that.
Well, he could just blow her up either. I mean, it could go either way.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm going to vote for Agent X. I know you want. I know we all want like these top tier characters to move on to the rounds, but that's the point of this game: is that it's certain situations can cause certain different people to win. Like we had to do our.
Is it a World Cup thing, or is it like knockout rounds?
Yeah, and then eventually we're going to have villain versus villain, who the final two, and the same with the allies, and then we'll have our champions, and then our champions are going to go head to head with the final villain versus the final ally.
You're going to end up with Aunt May versus Glory Grant or something.
I don't think Aunt May's on the list.
No, Aunt May is not on the list. I don't think she'd do much.
She's not on the ally list.
What's she going to do against Iron Man?
She's going to write him a very mean letter and going to post it. And we'll stop him.
I love how all of them poison people in your world, mate.
Well, she could seduce him either.
Do you like skin that's coarse like sand?
He's like, if I'm drunk enough, baby.
Yeah. Come into my bed, but mind all the cats. I'm sorry. Nope, no one.
Oh, you can keep that one.
Sorry, I just blacked out for a few minutes.
Oh, are you answering an email now?
No. I just didn't want to think about that.
What, Aunt May's 3,000 cats in bed?
I heard that's the next Spidey issue you're drawing. Is Aunt May seducing Tony Stark?
No, that's just like fan comics I do.
Yeah,
that's personal work.
That's the stuff you love. All right. Okay. I'm gonna say Iron Man. Who's saying Agent X or Iron Man?
Yeah, I go for Agent X.
I'm going for Agent X as well.
Okay. Ring the bell. Agent X wins. All right. Knocked out Iron Man. Okay. Cool. So moving on then, the final category that we have, Nate, here is, I call it my Daily Bugle fact of the day.
Now let's see who's under that mask.
I'm shocked, and you're gonna be too. I guess it really does pay to practice shoddy journalism. Keep it up, JJ.
I have waited for this for some time.
There is so much that went on behind the scenes of this show, and there's so many things that people don't know about. I have a large list of facts that are all about the show here. I think I have like 66 facts. So, Nate, you can pick one. And
like just a number between 1 and 66?
No, I won't be that broad. I'll give you... Why don't you pick 20 through 30?
Yeah, do all of them then. Quick hit.
Just one. Maybe I'll do two because you're our first guest that's been on the whole show. But we'll do the first one, and then if I feel like another one should follow, you can pick another number.
No, it's just one each time.
Oh, all right. Sorry, I didn't know.
What's it gonna be? Come on.
Yeah, I know.
Don't fuck up the system.
I'm not special enough, am I not?
Yeah, I know. So shit, Jesus.
I think I should get 3.
You're gonna get. If this is like in a teen movie where he's like, "That's 1 day's detention," and they start arguing, he's like, "Now it's 2 days." Do you want a whole week?
I feel like my whole life is detention. I'm drawing pictures of Spider-Man.
All right, fucking hell. 20 through 30. You may pick 2, Nate, and I will
24 and 26.
24 and 26. Okay, 24. So, Betty Brant was supposed to appear on Spider-Man the Animated Series. Instead of being J. Jonah Jameson's secretary, Betty was supposed to be the assistant of Robbie Robertson and fond of Peter Parker. While a model sheet of the character was drawn for the show, the writers did not get the chance to use Betty because they had run out of new episodes by the time it was going to be introduced. So that's kind of interesting because that's obviously Betty Brant is one of the pivotal women in Spider-Man's life.
It's Spider-Man's first ever girlfriend, isn't it?
Is Betty Brant his first ever girlfriend?
Pretty sure.
So yeah.
Okay.
I don't know if they were official, going steady, but they went on a few dates. Yeah.
Well, first love interests.
Yeah, because our last fact last week, Nate, was about Gwen Stacy not being featured in the show, and the main reason that she wasn't, besides in a brief cameo appearance in one of the Spider-Verse episodes, she was never in the show because the writers didn't want to write someone that had been dead in the comics for 20 years, which makes sense.
Fair enough.
Yeah, fair enough, because everybody knew what's going to happen. She's bound to die at some point, so they just kind of...
Well, if he actually bloody listened to the podcast, he would know that already.
I just don't like Spider-Man.
He gets enough Spider-Man every day. Okay, and then, so number 26 then.
Yeah.
Kathy Garver, the voice of Firestar on Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends in 1981... will appear on several episodes of Spider-Man the Animated Series. She does the voice of the Lizard Woman, Gila, in Season 4's The Lizard King episode, and the voice of Madeline Joyce / Miss America in the 5-part 6 Forgotten Warriors story arc that's led by Captain America.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
I remember that episode, I think.
What, the Captain America episodes?
Yeah.
They're really good, man. They're just some classic Marvel storytelling where Spider-Man's teaming up with Captain America and his old team of heroes. What are
they called again? What's the team name?
Oh man, because one of the characters is the
Dum Dum Dugan and
No. They're not used in the animated series. It's a team of superpowered beings that basically have a form of the super soldier serum, but it's not pure like Captain America had, because obviously it was destroyed. So they had kind of reinvented the super soldier serum and given it to these 5. They're called the 6 Forgotten Warriors. That's what they're called.
Oh, what a lame name for a team.
You come up with better.
Yeah, I know, right? Because I suppose it's super forgetful. But I don't know what they're called back in the day, because that's what they're called in the modern day of Spider-Man during the show when they're fighting alongside Spider-Man. But they're super old and their superpowers turn on and off, and one of them will...
Oh my god, actually, now that you're saying this, I completely remember this episode with all the old men and women that suddenly turn into superheroes.
Yeah, and one of them is the Wizard, who recently...
from Squadron Supreme.
Yeah, and they recently did a... Spoiler alert, anybody? Spoiler alert for Jessica Jones Season 2, spoiler alert.
Don't tell me, I haven't watched it.
Okay. Oh, if you haven't, then I won't say anything.
Thank you.
So yeah, it was a...
I'm guessing the Wizard is in it. Taking a wild guess here.
No. The Lizard King is in it. What's her face?
That's still a spoiler regardless.
No, the Lizard King is not in it, and the Wizard may or may not have made an appearance. I plead the 5th. But yeah, I did like Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends growing up as well. I don't know if you watched it.
Yeah, so did I. Yeah, I love that. I love that as well. I had a bootleg VHS of that and a few episodes of that, and Spider-Woman as well.
Yeah,
we had a VHS of it as well. That was only at our nan's house. So anytime we went to our nan's, we'd always watch it.
That's good to have something to do.
That's proper like Green Goblin.
It's the same. It's the same guy who did the voice for. So the same guy who did the Green Goblin voice in Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends, Gary Imhoff, is the same guy who does the Green Goblin in Spider-Man the Animated Series. So he did the character twice over the span of like 15 years.
Terrible choice, in my opinion.
I love his Green Goblin. Do you like his Green Goblin choice? Do you remember his Green Goblin voice, Nate?
Is it the one Will's been doing?
Well, it's basically his ugly like stepbrother version that Will's doing.
I remember it being fine. I'm easily pleased though.
Yeah, I like a high-pitched, menacing Green Goblin voice. I think it works.
I thought it was ridiculous.
When you're a kid, you just accept things easily, I think.
No, as a 5-year-old, I was like, I don't accept this.
And that's why Nate's working on Spider-Man. All right, guys, I think that about does it for our category games. So, just to quickly plug, if you enjoy this podcast, please be sure to rate, comment, and subscribe to us on iTunes, as it helps us wall crawl up the charts and attract more listeners. You can also find us on SoundCloud if you're not an iTunes user. Please be sure to rate and comment, as I said, guys, because it really helps with us attracting more and more guests like Nate here and other people from comic books and the show itself to get on and talk about their love for the show and also what they do for a living. So be sure to visit us on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube pages by keyword searching STAS Podcasts, where you can see images or clips from recent episode discussions, chat about the show, as well as leaving any comments or suggestions about the podcast. Or, if you're not into social media at all, then you can email us at staspodcast@gmail.com. You can follow Will at Robson Inc., INK, on his social medias. And Nate, do you want to plug your social media one more time?
Yeah, it's at Stockman Nate on Twitter.
Awesome. All right, is there anything that we want to chat about or talk about before we head off here, guys?
I don't know.
I mean, how are you today, Nate? What are you having for dinner tonight?
I don't know. Maybe meatballs. Haven't decided yet.
Whatever the gentleman brings you, right?
There's meatballs, there's turkey burgers in the fridge. I might make wontons, who knows? So crazy.
Well, you enjoy that very long and hard decision.
Yeah, I will. It's the hardest decision I'll make all day.
Will, you good, mate?
Yeah, you never ended the podcast like this before. Will, you good, mate? Yeah, I'm alright, bruv.
Well, just in case. I mean, I
podcast, you know, just fucking dicking about.
I can easily edit all that shit out, so it doesn't really matter. I'm just wondering if you had anything in particular. I'm sorry, sir. Do you have anything in particular? Kindly, if you could, is there anything you'd like to plug for yourself or talk to our listeners about that you have up and coming?
Everyone gets Spawn kills everyone when it comes out sometime this year.
That's right.
I'm John Spawn with Todd McFarlane.
Nate, what about what books can you recommend our listeners to go and pick up that are yours?
Spidey Volume 2, Doctor Strange and the Sorcerer Supreme. There's 2 volumes of that. It's very good. Every volume of Renew Your Vows so far has a little bit of me in it, and that'll do.
No, sounds good to me.
You'll get your fill out of that.
Yeah, cheers, man. Well, thanks for coming on the show, Nate. I really appreciate
thanks for having me. Great crack.
Yeah, it's been fun, and it's been cool to chat Spidey with you. And like I said, after you get off the podcast, I will be amazed if you don't then try and find a Spider-Man the Animated Series episode to watch.
Well, we'll see. We'll see how bored I get.
True fan right there.
Probably watch and be like, oh, this is terrible.
All right, well, that's all the time we got for this week. Join us next time where we'll continue talking all things Spider-Man the Animated Series. Until then, I've been Alex Robson.
I've been Will Robson.
Do I say anything?
Oh, I should have given you a fucking cue.
No, it's fine. That's funny.
Yeah.
Slán!
And he's been Nate Stockman. And remember, guys, with a great podcast comes great recordability.
Yep.
Bye.